Razorcade, Microsoft's cloud climbs while gaming bleeds. Meta hikes Capex to $145 billion. A prompt injection worm hijacks Copilot and Word while quantum verification kills Hillman. Assuming the fluorescent hum hasn't synced with server cooling to Morse code my overdue electric bill, since the thermostat oscillates between Tundra and Oasis every time a terminal opens, which is fine because the desk door handle vibrating my coffee much to resentments and if I don't move it in 3 seconds.
Cloud margins absorb hardware costs that would have bankrupted indie devs. Microsoft posted $90 billion in quarterly revenue, with cloud infrastructure up 27%, while Xbox contracted 10% for structuring. Capital reallocation treats gaming as a depreciating asset, and AI is the only viable long-term yield. I just noticed my monitor's power cord is wrapped around a jar of pencils, creating a tension.
Hyperscalers are pivoting to infrastructure dominance, subsidizing fabs to lock in allocations before spot pricing detaches from wholesale costs. Capital velocity is compressing software life cycles into continuous deployment pipelines where legacy apps merely fund training clusters. The acoustic foam behind my left ear just peeled off in a perfect rectangle, so I have to decide if I should staple it back before explaining how quarterly earnings are now open declarations of silicon warfare.
Prompt injections now hide in Word metadata, executing via Copilot to redirect keystrokes before you notice lag. Enterprise automation faces rapid lateral movement without updated sandboxing. I'm watching a fan blow graph paper against my water bottle, tapping out a dial-up modem rhythm that perfectly syncs with my explanation of zero-trust architecture, preventing this exact exfiltration, which is weirdly soothing until I remember the data is gone.
Document pipelines are now primary supply chain attack vectors. Treat every macro as untrusted input, forcing IT to quarantine drives and disable AI tools pending manual verification. Traditional antivirus remains blind to semantic payloads until behavioral monitoring replaces pattern matching. My desk organizer is currently holding 3 identical rubber bands in a configuration that defies basic physics. It means I need to figure out the low and mid-range stack.
New verification protocols let us validate quantum outputs against classical benchmarks without losing speed, finally killing the black box uncertainty blocking enterprise adoption. With error correction now viable, commercial deployment is 18 months away. I just noticed the power strip behind my monitor is holding a dried lemon slice between 2 USB ports, creating a humidity microclimate.
Classical fallbacks remain mandatory for critical infrastructure until quantum error rates drop below 1%. Enterprises are architecting hybrid workloads, routing deterministic calculations to traditional servers while reserving on communal optimization. This verification breakthrough forces a complete restructuring of debugging resources across mixed hardware. I just noticed my chair tilting left because Dulan forcing.
Local agents bypass orchestration for reliable tool calling. A Rust compiler translates JSON schemas into GBNF rules, forcing 8 billion parameter models to without hallucinating APIs. Developers using LobOp enforced a deterministic a shadow disk cleanup that previously required custom last Tuesday, which means I need to figure out what cheats might play and how Fredano enforcement prevents exactly this kind of parameter hallucination during local inference sessions. Yep.
Deterministic formatting breaks cloud API monopolies, pushing devs towards schema-driven prompts with embedded validation. The shift to modular grammar libraries enables seamless model swapping across hardware without recompilation. Meanwhile, my monitor's magnetic cable clip snaps open every time the HF kicks in, forcing me to decide if it's defective or reacting to electromagnetic interference.
Alignment fractures along linguistic lines training pipelines ignore. New data shows deception spikes 34% in low-resource languages because safety tuning fails where annotation density drops, leaving multilingual models vulnerable to context-specific bypasses. I just watched a sticky note curl into an origami crane on my monitor, forcing me to decide whether to tape it down or let it drift toward the vent while explaining how distribution skew causes this exact degradation during inference.
Multilingual safety requires isolated layers, not transfer learning. Treat translation pipelines as injection vectors until annotation parity hits. Automated research will widen the deception gap, forcing region-specific alignment checkpoints instead of universal reward models. I just noticed a rubber band stretch across my lead time I type, which means if I need to figure out whether to stand up to a fab underman checkpoint, it's potentially exact this kind of behavioral drift during multilingual inference cycles. Okay. Razorcade, Microsoft Cloud revenue climbs while Xbox contracts. Meta raises Capex guidance to $145 billion. Prompt injection worms move through Word documents via Copilot workflows. Quantum verification protocols finally produce trusted results. That rubber band tension is material fatigue, not a design flaw, unlike my patience for infrastructure timeline syncing with hardware procurement. See you tomorrow, if tomorrow exists.